Yeah, so let's get started. Welcome, everyone. Thank you for logging on and attending this evening's program. My name is Matt Schuman. I am on the programming team here at Cary Library. Before we begin, just a few things to note. Please let me know if there are any technical issues that I can try to resolve. You can send those to me in the chat. Otherwise, send any questions or comments that you have in the Q&A button, and we will address them at the end. This program is made possible by the generous donors to the Cary Library Foundation. I'd like to now introduce Ashley Rooney. She is the past president of the Lexington Field and Garden Club and a prolific author. Ashley has brought to the library innumerable local experts over the past year for our gardening series. And the next episode is on Tuesday, April 27th, at 7 p.m. and you can sign up on carylibrary.org. So now please welcome Ashley.
Thank you, Matt. And tonight, this is a really great program. Matter of fact, I asked Janet Erickson way back, I think last September, would you consider doing this? Janet Erickson joined the garden club in the mid-'80s. And 90% of that time, she was working full-time and raising her children, but she also was famous for her gardens. She's been on the garden tour for the garden club in 2013 as the Secret Garden. Emily Passman, a local artist, often brought her students to paint in her garden. Tonight, you are going to see the flowers and the landscaping of that garden and get many ideas of what you might want to do on this dark, wet, rainy night for your garden. So let me welcome Janet, and we're going to take it away. She has a lot of pictures here. Off you go, Janet.
Okay, thank you, Ashley. I want to thank Matt for this great opportunity to present for the Cary Library. And I would also like to thank you, Ashley, for the special invitation to work with you on this presentation to motivate and to inspire the audience. I hope I'm able to do that. And I also would like to say thank you to my husband for all of the support he's given me in helping with this. The photographs that you're going to see, a lot of them are taken from my books. The first book was just flowers. And what inspired me to even do a book was when my son moved to California, he left behind the long lens to the camera. It was a Canon, whatever. And my husband said, take it outside and practice. And that's what I did. And when I saw what a close-up of a flower afforded, I was just taken by that. And I decided to do a book. I did the first one on flowers, and the second one I decided to do on the gardens. So that starts now. And I'm not doing the book. I am doing just some of the photos from the book. And the first one is a picture of our home in Lexington, and in the front garden, unfortunately, the PJMs are just starting to bloom now, is what you're looking at. They're out of bloom in the photo. And PJMs, Rhododendrons, weeping Japanese maple, and then there's a side garden as well. Next. And this is at the end of the driveway, when you come down from the house. At the end of the driveway, you'll see Seaweagle's hosta, and that surrounds one of the garden pots, privet hedge. The pink that you see in the photograph is, let me see here, I just did a blank here, a wild pink geraniums, and they spread nicely, and they're very colorful. And in the back, you see Big Red, coined by our son John. That's our beautiful red maple tree. And my red wheelbarrow, which stayed in the garden probably for 20 years until the entire bottom rusted out completely. I kept it. Next. Now, this is a view from the second floor. And the reason I put this one in is I wanted you to see Harry Lauder's walking stick. And that's directly below the wind chime that's hanging from the sunroom. And Harry Lauder's walking stick, I had about 4. And the last one was during the garden tour in 2013. And as people came through, they said it was the only one that they could see in leaf. Apparently it had a blight. and we eventually lost it. So we lost all of them. They were just, I love the contortion of the
bark.
itself. Yeah, it's just beautiful, and it's great in flower arranging actually. So that's the next slide. The next slide is the upper water garden, and the upper water garden has a variegated iris. That's purple iris with variegated leaves, and you see a water lily, and Kenilworth ivy is growing through the rock wall that you see next to the lion. The lion is embedded in the rock wall itself. And then we have papyrus, which is tied in the background. Next. And here we have water hyacinth. This is the upper pond as well, but this is a close-up. You can see the papyrus bending. But my frogs, when we were putting the ponds in, my son Jeff dug a hole 4.5 feet deep, and a construction barrel was inserted in that hole that he dug, and the frogs hibernate in a mud pot that I placed at the very bottom. So it's below the frost line, and they're able to hibernate, and the fish also go down through the crack, and they're able to hibernate in that area, in that construction barrel over the winter. Next. Next. And this is a double pink peony, and these peonies, I did not buy a peony ever in the 45 years that we've lived here. The peonies were here, and the second owners bought the house in 1973. We purchased it in 1976. They had a beautiful vegetable garden, which we continued for several years, many years actually. And then the peonies were in a garden in the back. I think they were kind of neglected, but I think that they were all antiques. Next. Our house was built in the 1890s. So those flowers have been here. I really believe that they have. This is a photograph of the upper pond again. You see the water lily, and under the water lily is one of 2 fish. And there were a pair given to my husband for his 60th birthday. And they were given to him by Bruce Wilcox, who is a friend. He's a very dear friend, and a gentleman who did our stone walls, and he actually built the ponds. And one day I couldn't find the fish, and I thought, well, he's in the corrugated drain pipe. We were under construction, and one day the contractor had gone home, and I saw this pipe hanging from the roof of the house, and it was hanging quite long. And I thought, why don't I just snip it? So I did. So I took 3 pieces and I buried them under the rocks, 2 in the upper pond and 1 in the lower pond, so the fish could have a place to hide, and also the frogs. So they're corrugated, and I thought for sure that these fish were smarter, but they weren't. So our flagstone patio on the upper water garden area was a landing pad for the great blue heron. And they were ever so magnificent. They were beautiful, but they stood in wait and watch, and they eventually devoured all of our fish. And we had names for every fish, and we had fancy, these are all goldfish. We never did koi. The fish in the lower garden, in the lower water garden, they all had names, and I can't remember the singing trio of girls, the Spice Girls or whatever, but the fish all had names. They had big red lips, or they had bulging eyes, or they had 3 tails. There was a lot going on at that time. But when the heron decided to migrate in the spring and in the fall, they pretty much knew where we were, and they cleaned us out completely. So we kept restocking, but it didn't work. Next slide.
Yep, it doesn't. Herons always win.
There's a heron. They are beautiful.
Yeah.
We tried everything, but it didn't work. And here's a picture of a beautiful pink peony. It's about to burst open. Next slide. And this one, it's opened up and you can see where it's red tinged. And I love getting inside of a flower. I just love to see the insides. That's what my whole first book was about. Next slide. So we have, this is the St. Fiacre garden, and St. Fiacre has a spade. It's not St. Francis. He feeds the birds, but St. Fiacre has a spade, and he's overlooking a rose bush that was given to me by my son, John, for a birthday. And this picture was taken June 22nd, 2010. The rose bush is flourishing. St. Fiacre is overlooking that rose bush. To the right of St. Fiacre is Frances Williams Hosta. She is very happy there. I don't dare move her. I don't divide her. She is, I covet that one. I don't, I share just about 99% of my garden with anybody and everybody, but, and that's what my garden is made up of, things from everybody and everybody. And it's just a mix of a lot of different varieties. And the sweet woodruff is below, and then their white astilbe above. Next. Oh, this is lemongrass, and this is a tropical herb. It's used in Asian cuisine. I use the stalk, and the stalks, you can smash the stalks. You can actually cut them, freeze them, use them whole. But it's very nice to steam fish, vegetables. You can make a tea with them, which is very light, and they freeze well. The tropical Trillium, which is in the lower right, that I treat as an annual. I don't bring the tubers in, and I think I bought it maybe twice. I'm really more into perennials. And in the left-hand side, in the rear, you will see sedum, which is called autumn joy. There are over 500 species, and this is one that you want to have in your garden. It is drought resistant. It's a rosy pink, russet red, and there are just so many varieties. It blooms in the fall. If you don't want it to become leggy, then you can snap it when it grows part way up and just cut it. I found that I wanted that in my side garden, and I wanted it to be the entire side wall. So I just took handfuls of the sedum from the larger plants, and I just grabbed them, snapped them. I stripped them of the leaves, and I just took, because the stalk is quite sturdy, stuck it in the ground in a row. And within 2 years, I had a magnificent showing in the fall. Beautiful, beautiful pink russet color, but drought resistant. So you have to remember that, especially now in this day and age. And this next slide, the next slide, I put this in here. This is Big Red, again, which provides us with a very heavy shade garden underneath. And you can see the two PJMs. They're from the rhododendron family, and they're in full bloom with purple lilacs in the background. And these PJMs are like puffballs. They're actually in the process of opening up now in the front of our home as well as in the back. Next. This is just a very small picture of the shade garden. And in this shade garden, it's heavy shade. And there are several varieties of hosta in there: Japanese painted fern, maidenhair fern, ostrich fern, American and wild ginger. I love working with gingers. I love dividing the gingers. The gingers, when you work with them, you can just, the scent is a spicy scent of ginger. It's wonderful. You can rub the leaves, but you get more of the scent when you actually dig around the roots. The flower is not visible. unless you move the leaves. And what you're looking at right there is, I believe it's American ginger or Canadian. And I think it starts up in Canada and goes all the way to North Carolina. So it's a native to North America. And also in this heavy shade garden are the hellebores. There are 20 varieties of hellebores. I had 2. The Christmas rose and the Lenten rose, I still have. They bloom in the early spring. Next. This photograph, I want you to look at the upper right. And in the upper right is what's left of a branch of the red leaf maple tree. In 2015, we noticed the defoliation of one of the center branches. One of the very long branches was defoliating. And in 2016, another one or 2 or 3. So we called Tim LeCouve, and Tim is our arborist. He comes up twice a year and he does the big trees for us. He's wonderful. He's the tree warden for Arlington, actually, but he took samples of this red leaf maple and sent them to Yukon diagnostic labs. And the diagnosis was a fatal fungus. There was absolutely no treatment for this tree, but they did use an antifungal agent on the beech tree, which was effective. So we asked him if he would try treating the tree. So for 3 years, 3 times a season, he treated the tree with this antifungal agent, and it was not successful. We didn't have our hopes up too high, but in May of 2018, our son John was home over Memorial Day weekend, and he wanted to help his father. So he and Bill cut the tree down, and it is gone. It left a tremendous void, not only in our garden, but in our hearts. Next. Next slide.
Sorry, there's just a little bit of a delay.
Oh, no, that's okay. I think sometimes maybe you can't hear me. This, of course, is a PJM in all its glory. It's in the lilacs in the background. Next. This one.
1 second. Yeah.
Okay, we have this one.
Matt, we got a black bar in the middle of it.
Yeah, I see that. I'm not sure what's happening. Okay.
Okay.
It's gone. It's gone. To the right, you'll see a lemon yellow hosta, and the bellflowers are corydalus. And thank you, Linda, if you're watching. I appreciated that quick response. And then in the center, in the middle and surrounding, we have Johnny jump ups, and they're jumping all over the place. Well, Johnny jump ups, I thought the grandchildren would enjoy these in California. So I took several species from our gardens, and I put them in little baggies with some damp paper towels and took them out. And the children at that time were 3 and 5 years old. They planted them, and they were amazed at the, they had the lessons of division, multiplication, and disappearing and reappearing. So what happened was I got the phone call, Grandma, the Johnny jump ups are all gone. And he was 5 years old at the time. And I said, just don't touch the pot, wait till spring and see what happens. But give it a little water now and then. This is San Diego, remember. So next slide, please. So this is the upper pond emptying into the lower pond. And where you see the fish, actually the fish, that's a little opening where they can go down and hibernate, and the frogs also. But this picture has creeping Jenny surrounding the bird bath. And creeping Jenny is yellow, and it's mostly yellow now, but it's yellow and green. And so I took some of that for Annalise. So Jenny creeps for Annalise and Johnny jumps for James. And they learned how to divide and multiply and and they know that flowers disappear and reappear with the Johnny jump ups, and they also now they have them growing in the grass because James wanted to take them out of the pot. He said, can I take some out of the pot and plant them in another pot? So that began the multiplication and dividing, and then of course they disappeared, and now they're growing in the grass. He's got them everywhere. They're jumping all over the place.
Yep. They creep will take right over.
Yeah, well, in San Diego, they might be. We haven't been there in a couple of years. It's been, this pandemic has been a little difficult. So on this slide, this is called Spirea bridal wreath, and this actually belongs to our neighbor. And this was a cascading, beautiful cascading shrub over our upper pond with weeping branches of flowering, beautiful white flowers. And it flowered in the mid-spring, and it was beautiful. The whole scene was beautiful. This was taken May 30th, 2011. And the umbrella that you see was there to shade the sun from the lower pond to keep the water a little cooler. Next. This is a patio-sized dahlia. It was short, and I shared this with several friends. This was beautiful, and there's something about taking photographs in the rain. The rain gives a sparkle to the leaves of the flowers, and I love taking photographs in the rain. It's a lush look, and it's a beautiful sight to see. Next. And here we have the patio garden, and the patio garden has Leo the lion. This picture was taken in 2011. Leo the lion, he's been with us forever. He has lost his teeth, he's lost his tongue, and he continues to spout water into his bowl over the rock into the lower pond. I called it a water garden, a little pond. And when I mentioned it to my son in Rhode Island, he was in college, he said, he came home for Thanksgiving that year, and he said, "Where is the pond?" And I said, "It's right here." And he said, "That is a puddle, Mom. It looks like a puddle." He said, "You told me you put in a pond." I said, "No." So I said, it is about 18 to 24 inches deep. It's not that deep, but it's nice to hear water flowing instead of traffic. So when we're sitting on the patio, we hear the sound of water coming from the water gardens and also from this small water garden. Chive flowers are on the lower left. I usually cut the chive flowers and dry them. You can do many things with those. You can decorate with them. They're edible. And the chives themselves I use in cooking, but the chive flowers I like to tie with some raffia and hang it in my kitchen. The Garbaridacea is here for color. Actually, it's an annual. You see on the right, the leaf that looks like a hand, and that is a double white bloodroot leaf. Now, that was quite a patch of white bloodroot, double white bloodroot in that area. Also to the, which you can't see, they are further to the left. But I did stand in the kitchen window and watch the rabbits continue to just decimate that entire area. In the following spring, I had no bloodroot. So that was a bit devastating. Next. Oh, well, Cheonanthus virginicus. This is a Chinese fringe tree. This happens to be plumes of fragrant white lace hanging gracefully. I love working in the side garden when this was alive. We no longer have it, unfortunately. A really good friend, Kathy, and I took the day off. She asked me to get a babysitter. My children were quite young. She said, we're going to the Arnold Arboretum. And we went to the Arnold Arboretum. And we, after the tour, we went to the little shop and we purchased the Chinese fringe tree and bush. You had to purchase 2 for $35. Well, back in the 80s, or maybe the early 90s, I can't remember exactly. That was a bit of money for me. And but I said, okay, we'll split it because I really want the tree. I want that fragrance. Ye Olde Burying Ground had a tree, and it was up the driveway that I first noticed it, and lightning had hit the tree, and I had mentioned it to Kathy. Kathy was very good with trees. She knew her every tree. So I brought it home, 18 inches. It was a stick. She had about a 15-inch stick, and that's about all that came in the little tiny pot. So I think I repotted it. It did not like to be moved. So I sunk it in the garden, and I left it there for about, I think it was 3 years before we eventually planted it in the side yard. It grew to be about 15 feet tall and eventually was lost to the elements. But to garden in that side garden, to get down on your hands and knees and to work in your garden and to have a breeze, the fragrance was absolutely fantastic. Next. Now this is called Rose Bay. And Rose Bay, I would like to read you an article, it's very short, from the Lexington Minuteman. I don't have a year, unfortunately. Rose Bay grows in Jane Warren's yard in Lexington. According to Warren, Rose Bay, a broadleaf evergreen shrub, is the only rhododendron native to Lexington. The flower buds are bright pink and the delicate flowers are a pale pink. Now, you might want to look up the obituary for Jane Warren. She passed away this January, 2021 in Lexington.
Her husband still lives here.
And the write-up was amazing. Her accomplishments were amazing. The write-up was very interesting, what she had accomplished in her life. But following retirement, she focused on conserving native plants and ecosystems. So it's interesting to read about her, but also to know that this is native to Lexington. And this particular shrub likes shade, dappled shade, and blooms in May. And this picture was taken in 2009. And the name again is Rose Bay Rhododendron. Ralph Waldo Emerson actually paid homage to this azalea in a poem. Now, all azaleas are rhododendrons, but not all rhododendrons are azaleas. I found that interesting. Next. Next, you will see a picture of 10 long stamens that extend from the actual flower itself. 10 long stamens in every flower. And if you can see the pale pink, you can see the buds starting to open. It's really quite beautiful. It blooms in late June through July. Next. And this is the Rose Bay fully opened with, of course, a little bumblebee inside. Next. The next one is lace cap hydrangea. And usually people, when they came into my garden, this was taken in 2011 as well. I don't know the name of it. It's possibly blue willow, but if anyone out there knows the true name of it, or if I mistakenly say the wrong name of a flower or a shrub, please click on your Q&A and let me know. I think it would be good for the audience to know the real name. But anyway, this lace cap hydrangea blooms in early to midsummer, and it's just a magnificent, magnificent hydrangea. Next. Next is an actual close-up of the flower, and that's what it looks like. Next. Next we have the blue hydrangea I'm showing you where it's situated in the garden. It's next to the grape arbor, actually. It's Concord grapes. And on the left-hand side, above the roses, my rose bush, is zebra grass. And the zebra grass has yellow stripes, and they are horizontal. They actually go the width of the leaf instead of the length. And it's beautiful in an arrangement. Zebra grass, I love ornamental grasses. I don't know the name of the one behind it. It's native to Japan, and it fully seeds in the fall. It has I always cut and bring it in, and it gets sort of bushy. And it's next to Francis Williams Hosta. Now, the reason I took this photograph to put in the presentation was the window box on the potting shed. That window box is rather small. And when we first had the shed put in, and I don't remember what year, I can't think of the name of the company that put it in. Anyway, they came and they put it together in one day. Anyway, the hostas, I used to put geraniums. I used to buy annuals at that time because I wanted color back there. And I would have to deadhead, I would have to water. I was running around going crazy doing all this stuff in a garden. And I said to myself, I'm not doing this anymore. So I think the name of that hosta is Alan P. McConnell. And Leo Blanchette in Carlisle was around 1993, 94. He had a little shack next to his home in Carlisle, and very, very well known for his hostas. And I think it was epimediums, hosta and epimediums. But anyway, at the time, Alan P. McConnell was a very popular little green hosta. So I took the hosta eyes, and I took an eye and I put an eye every here and there and in the window box. And that picture was taken in 2011. And I probably started that window box right after, shortly after we had, probably a year or two after we put the shed in, the potting shed. And you don't have to, you would give it water once in a while. It had the right environment to thrive, and it gave a nice look to the potting shed, but it required no care. And that's what I liked about that. So Alan P. McConnell was a short green, but it had white. It was tinged in white. Next. And the next photograph, I put this picture in. It's a second floor view of the water gardens. And you can see the time that I try so hard to plant in between the flagstone. And the flagstone patio was put in by Bruce, and John came home. He was working in ecotourism at the time for about a year and a half after college. He came home and helped Bruce finish the flagstone patio. And they put those stones so close together, and everyone was named a state in the United States. Bruce was a history major, very bright, and our boys worked for him, actually. They put in many ponds together, the three of them, and every time they came home, they learned about the Marshall Islands. I mean, they would tell us, Bruce would just set up the potted plants, and they would do history lessons. It was fascinating. They really loved working with him. But the flagstone is very close together, and in between the flagstone or any stone that you put in stone dust. And the stone dust was so difficult to remove. I didn't have the time to plant the thyme to put in between all the flagstones. So what you see there, I was able to dig out that the sandstone was quite deep, actually, to keep that stone in place. So what you do see in there is thyme. And then we have two umbrellas again. It must have been a very hot summer, and it's shading the gardens, the water gardens. Next. Next, we have the double white bloodroot. It's a native wildflower. It has pure white flowers and it's popping up now. And as you see up in the top toward the right, that little bud was given to me by a neighbor. That one right there. That's what I had to start with, and it propagates by seed. So it seeded itself throughout my garden, and I donated it to the plant sale. I gave it to friends. I just had a ball with the bloodroot. But what was interesting is one time when I hit it with a spade, I hit the root. I was amazed that it was bleeding. And I said, well, thus the name double bloodroot. Lots of blood on my hands. I looked down, but if you look it up, it calls it red juice. Well, in my profession, it's blood. And I said, that's the name, double bloodroot. I took that photograph in, let's see, 2013. And I had several patches, large patches of the double bloodroot. It just seemed to love my garden for some reason. I don't know why, but that is the leaf that you see that looks like a small hand. That is loved by the rabbits, and they are decimating it in my yard. And I probably have what you see there. I probably have less than half of that left in my garden, in all of my gardens, actually. It did love it under the red leaf maple tree as well. Next, and the next one is, it's just a beautiful dahlia. It was one of my favorites, and I did some editing on that for my book, as you can see, but it's a beautiful, beautiful pink dahlia. I don't know the name. I don't know the name of any of my dahlias anymore. I have no recall. Next, we have dinner plate dahlias. And the dinner plate dahlias, in this photograph, they're no longer dinner plate. They have reduced in size over the years. I don't know how many years they had been in, but they were quite large. And they were not divided. I guess that was in 2014. We were probably in California. I don't know. You know, it gets to a point where you get kind of busy and you don't really take care of the garden the way you should. But there's the autumn joy sedum, and I believe I had cut that back so it's not tall and leggy. And I kind of left it there in that garden. It didn't really belong there. But next, dahlias are wonderful. You have to dig them up in the fall. You have to remember to dig them up in the fall. And here's a photograph, a close-up of the actual flower itself after a rain. And I think I'd like to share with you about the dahlia. When you dig the bulbs, you dig them after the first frost. And if you read about dahlia bulbs and talk to people about dahlia bulbs, there are so many different ways of storing them for the winter. I can't tell you the number of stories I heard, and washing them and cleaning them, and so a friend of mine from the garden club said, just put them in a brown paper bag lined with newspaper, 2 or 3 layers of newspaper, dig them up, set them on the patio, let the sun dry them for the day, and then pick the clump up, soil and all. Don't even shake the soil off. Set them in the bags, leave the bags wide open. And we've done this for about the past 10 years. Leave the bags wide open in your basement where it's cool and dry. We keep them off the floor. We have a brick floor, but we keep them up off the floor, or we keep something underneath. And then we had at least 20 bags of dahlias for several years. We were collecting them. We were very faithful with the dahlias in the fall. That was a while ago. That was 2010. Next slide is a purple bearded iris. And the purple bearded iris, a colleague of my husband, Bill's, a colleague of his gave him a rhizome to take home and plant. And so Bill brought the rhizome home. He planted it. Of course, you plant a rhizome horizontally and you leave the top exposed always. And he planted that and it multiplied beautifully. It's a bearded iris and it's purple and it's absolutely gorgeous. Next slide. And the next slide is a close-up of the flower itself. Now I'm always one for digging and opening up the flower very gently. The petals are called falls, and the soft hairs along the center, I guess, is why they call it bearded, but that's a close-up of the actual bearded iris. It's beautiful. And he then started digging the rhizomes and spreading them out throughout the garden, and he's done a fantastic job. They're beautiful. He has them in about 4 different places. Next slide. And the next slide is a view of the upper pond, from the upper pond looking down to the lower pond. And I took this photograph to show you the papyrus. I picked that up at New England Nurseries, and it was a rather small plant, but I brought it home and put it right into the pond. I had it in the lower pond, which is shallower. And this is probably the 3rd year for it, 3rd or 4th year, I don't remember. And we would bring it in. We brought it in every winter. In the fall, we brought it in for the winter. And you can see the water circulating, the lion on the upper right. You can see the profile of the lion that's built into the stone wall in this picture here. And down below is the variegated purple iris. That was 2006, actually. That papyrus grew to be 20 feet tall. And it got to the point where we couldn't pick it up anymore. And the root system actually grew out of the pot into the stone wall itself. We had to take a machete and cut the root system, and then brought in our boys, I think, happened to be home and helped bring that in. And I think the last time it was brought in, it stayed in. It was in the house in our sunroom for many years. Next. Next is a soft pink salmon colored poppy. And this originates with Chris from the Garden Club. I don't know if it originated in the Monroe Tavern Gardens. I think I bought 2 plants at the plant sale. And this is, again, a rain. They don't handle a rainstorm very well because they're tissue paper thin, but I opened that up to see the throat of the flower, which I think is absolutely beautiful. Next. It's very difficult to protect these in the rainstorm. Now that picture, the first one that you saw, was taken in 2016, and the 2 plants were planted together next to one another. This was taken in 2019, and you can see there's a difference in color. This is a darker salmon color. There's a little honeybee there, but this is the one that survived. The other one I lost. I'm not sure what happened to the other one, but a garden is ever changing, forever changing. Next, my husband said I have too many peonies in this slideshow, but this is one of my favorite. It's a double pink peony. Again, I bought no peonies, and only one person gave me a peony, and it's a white one, but this is just beautiful. It's just like tissue paper as well as the poppy. This peony is it has a little bit of red in it, and it looks so gorgeous against the green. That was in my first book. Next, the next one is a red peony, and it's against the blue indigo baptisia. And the color combination is just exquisite. To put that in a vase, combine that with some ornamental grasses, absolutely beautiful. The colors. Next. And next we have the Quazon cherry tree, and that's in our side garden room. And it blooms in the late spring. It has large pink peach flower clusters. And the flower clusters hang. So I actually was under the tree taking this photograph, looking up at the sky. The flowers are beautiful. Next. Next is a gift to me. It was a gift of a white peony. And it was given to me by a lady from the North Shore Garden Club. I think it was Gloucester. Anyway, we traded peonies, and there's a lot of trading going on over the years with flowers. We've just had an amazing time doing this. Most all those plants in my garden originated with the plant sale in Lille Blanchette, when the garden plant sale every year. That's a story in itself, but my husband would always say to me when he would come home from work, how much did that cost me? If I worked the evening shift, I was always, I had to request that I was available for the plant sale that day. And my trunk was filled. That's how the garden really got going, with a little bit of everything. And then as the flowers grew, I started dividing and sharing with friends, and then they would share with me, and then we started giving back to the plant sale. And you have to remember that these plants are all from Lexington, and they do very well in the gardens. But this particular peony was exquisite. She asked me if I had white. I said no. She said, I'm going to give you white. And so she did. She dropped it off one day when she was in Lexington. And it's just the most beautiful peony. Next. And the next one is the same peony, but I love every part of a plant. Every part of a flower. There's just something to be said for it. And in this particular picture, this is a beautiful dish given to my youngest sister, Mara. And I would use this to float a lot of my flowers, but I would float the large peony. You could only see the gold rim of the dish. You couldn't see anything else. But as the petals turned brown, I would remove the petals and discard them, and this is what was left. And to me, I find beauty in this. I just love that picture, and I love floating the peonies and just discarding the petals as they pass on. Next, and the next one is a picture taken by the Longlands. Now, this is in my book, my first book. This one is Hens and Chicks and the Kenilworth Ivy. And this is coming through the stone wall in the back garden. Next. And next we have simply an allium. I couldn't begin to tell you the species. There are over 500 species of allium that exist today. It's very gorgeous. It's rather delicate, and it blooms in the late summer. I think this was taken in late May. And actually, after everything is gone, I saved the skeleton, and I have the skeletons in a vase upstairs. Always wanting to spray it gold for Christmas, but never got around. Anyway, next. Next, we have a view of the back garden room. And the garden room, you can see the white Siberian iris in bloom, and the poppies are in bloom. And the gas plant is there, and there are more white Siberian iris. And then the bearded iris of Bill's is, this was in 2019. That's when I took this photograph, but it looks like he had already divided his iris. You can see his underneath a little whimsy there. Next. Oh, so the next one, Louisiana black gamecock iris, exquisite. It's a North American wildflower. And this one needs full sun. It's velvety purple, black bloom. It has slender gold highlights. And this was given to me by Lori from the Garden Club. She and I were on the board together, and I got to know her a bit. She was quite lovely, and she put the word out that she was, anybody asked if anyone wanted this. And so I texted her and said, yes, I would like to try in my pond. It is rabbit resistant. You have to know that. I don't know how many rabbits swim, but this iris is just magnificent. As a matter of fact, I think it is possibly, they said, I read this somewhere when I was doing my research, possibly one of the world's most beautiful iris. It has the slender gold highlights, and but we have no problem with the rabbits as it's placed. This one is in the upper pond. Next is a picture. It's not a very good one, but it's a picture of the black gamecock iris growing in the upper pond. Actually, it's better to see the flower up close and personal, I think. It is beautiful. Next. And next we have a monarch butterfly landing on one of the dahlias in the side garden. And the grandchildren have released in San Diego in excess of 100 monarchs over the years, over their young years. Actually, today they're 5 and 7. They took 15 plants that their father had bought them over the last few years, 15 plants, and they donated them to the school, and they're going to teach the children metamorphosis. I would love to be there as a student.
Great.
Well, we'll see. They're 5 and 7 now, soon to be 6 and 8, but they're just avid gardeners. They love it. They're very much into the environment and vegetables, and they do it all. Anyway, next, my husband, again, just doesn't like me showing all my pink peonies. This is a double pink. This one was in my book. You can see that it's edited, and I just have to fall in love with this. They're beautiful. When I see them, I do cut them and I bring them in because I enjoy them in the house. I can't see the side garden as well from the sunroom. I actually have to go out there, but there is a chaise lounge out there and tables and chairs, places to sit. But I like to have that peony in my kitchen where I spend a good part of my time. Next. Oh, next is sad. Next is, I have no clue. If anyone knows, please click on Q&A. It's a pink orange azalea. And this was a gift given to me by Bruce Wilcox, actually brought this to me. And somewhere along the line, it developed a pest of some kind. I don't remember what, but I knew at the time. I looked into it and they said to treat it with Fell's naphtha soap. So I cut Fell's naphtha soap into chunks and I tied them with string. I tied the string gently to the branches and I watered it with waterfall. My watering can has a waterfall end on the end. And I watered it. And when it rained, the Fell's naphtha soap would drip down the sides of the plant and into the ground, hoping that it would be absorbed by the root system. But unfortunately, it was lost. You can see there's something all over it now. I wouldn't even begin to tell you what it is. I was so distraught when I lost it. It just didn't seem to respond to anything I did. And at that time, and that was in 2009, I was probably running after children and doing all sorts of things and didn't give it the time that it needed, but I did get that Fell's naphtha soap on it. I think it was without the naphthalene. They don't make it with naphthalene anymore, which is poisonous. Next is variegated pulmonaria and the variegated leaf. And a neighbor also gave me my first pulmonaria, which was just a green leaf. I donated tons of that to the garden, to the plant sale. But this variegated one, she dug it from her garden, and she and I worked the plant sale for years together. I'll never forget her. And you can see where the actual flower starts out sort of a pink color and turning into a beautiful lavender. And it's blooming right now in the garden. It is absolutely a beautiful plant. It's not quite as hardy as the solid green leaf, I find, but I did see it popping up over by the grape arbor the other day. Just a very small one, but it's there, and I was delighted to see it. Next. It's also called lungwort. So pulmonaria is called lungwort. So I call it by pulmonaria. This is in the side garden, and I don't have a full view of the side garden. I don't know. I didn't get through enough photos as I should have probably. But this is the flowering crabapple at the end of the side garden. And it's flanked by 2 dwarf Hinoki cypress, and they are no longer dwarf. Obviously, you can see from the right. But if you look down underneath the crabapple tree, it was just solid Pachysandra until the blight got that, and we pulled that out a few years before. This picture was taken in 2020. Now that patio that you see, my son Jeffrey, he and I did the 2 patio. There are 2 of them, and he and I did the patios together in one morning. The pallets were dropped off in the driveway, and the directions were on the top, and he would load them into the wheelbarrow, come and dump them. And I started with, it was like putting a puzzle together. It was very, very easy. Once you got the hang of it and found the 2 center pieces, you could go, and all the stones they're not the same size. They're not the same shape. It was a little bit confusing on the first one, but the second one went in like a snap. Very easy to do on your own. And then we had pea stone surrounding, and the entire side yard requires no water and no fertilizer except for the perennial garden on the left and the bushes on the shrubs on the right. And I think we have we have about 5 ilex over there and a couple other bushes. So no fertilizer, no water, no grass. John was working in ecotourism in the Bahamas at the time. He was gone for about 1.5 years, and Jeffrey went to visit him for a couple of weeks. And when he came home, he handed in his resignation at MIT, and we almost died. He had been there for 3 years. And so Bill said, here, he handed him a spade, and he said, I want all the grass dug out in the side yard. He was living at Fenway Park at the time, in an apartment near Fenway. And he stayed there till his lease ran out, but he was home every day under his father's orders to dig out the grass and to help put in the side garden. So that's another room that we have. That's our 4th room, actually. And next, so you don't have to water and fertilize stone. Keep that in mind. And it does make for a beautiful garden. Now here is Bill's garden. This is the Peony garden. When Joan Farr was the president of the club, I decided I wasn't going to take care of peonies anymore. So I had them come and dig, and I told them to dig, and they kept on digging out peonies. I had given so many away years prior, but they kept on coming back, and I just didn't, I had enough. I didn't want to take care of them anymore. I was working, Bill was working, the kids were in college probably, I don't even remember, but so they came, and I think it was Joan at the time, I'm not positive, but they started digging peonies. I don't know how many people were in there digging and loading them into the cars and the trunks. And then finally they said, we can't take any more. So I'm left with probably the beautiful white one from Gloucester. And then I probably have one double pink left. So I have no idea what they took, and I have no idea who bought them at the plant sale. But whoever you are, you have some beautiful peonies, and I call them antiques because I do believe that they were put here when the first family, the Ryan family, built the house in the late 1880s, somewhere along the line. She was still alive, actually, when we bought this house, the daughter. So this is Bill's garden, and this is a beautiful show. He just walks around. I stopped gardening shortly after the garden tour. I wasn't able to do what I used to do. So he started picking up the trowel and digging everywhere in the garden and just putting things in this patch where there are no more peonies. And I had Alma Potchki asters given to me by a friend, which is a rose pink aster. And everyone needs to have that in their garden. It is so beautiful. And I believe whatever's left of the root system is underneath these beautiful Siberian iris. Anyway, Alma Potchki is no longer in our garden, unfortunately. But we have the beautiful blue iris, and Bill is doing a great job in that garden, and his bearded iris are down at the far end of the garden, all up in front of my peonies. Next. Next is a double white trillium that again was given to me by a neighbor. She gave me one flower, and that just loved my garden with the bloodroot. She's a saint. She gave me the double white bloodroot, and this is a double white trillium. And this took off beautifully. I donated this to the garden club. I gave it to my friends. It was just everywhere. It loved living underneath the red leaf maple tree. And it lived in the garden by the grape arbor, actually. I used to cut it and put it in a fishbowl and take it to work. And I would bring the fishbowl home. I would leave the fishbowls at work, and I would, the different offices at work, I would just bring them to the nurses, and they would last a long time. I couldn't be outside to look at my flowers all the time. So if I was at work, they were there. If I was at home, they're in my kitchen, they're in my family room, they're in my dining room. So they were always somewhere. But the double white trillium is very, very special. And I'm not sure. I think if you go to the virtual plant sale this year, and you, again, go to the garden website, the Lexington Field and Garden website, the anemones, when the big red was cut down, the sun hit that shade garden, and I lost a lot of everything that required deep shade, and not knowing the anemone took over. So if you buy anemone that Ashley and her husband potted up, they were here one day and dug it, you might have a double white trillium. I have no idea where they are. They're not up yet. I think they come up at the beginning of June. This was taken June 2020. And it's by a rock. I always try to put something special by a rock. And that way you kind of know where there's something special. So you don't dig around that rock, but the anemone, I think, took over. You can see it in the background, actually. That's the anemone. Next. I'm going rather quickly because I know we're on a time frame here. The next is the purple clematis, and that is beautiful. Next. And this is a close-up of the actual flower itself. And it's magnificent, and it's a beautiful view from our sunroom. Next is a fragrant peach colored quince. And this was given to me by a friend, and it attracts butterflies and birds. And I had it probably 8 years, and this is the first year. This was taken in May of 2020. I have to tell you that the rabbits chew it to the ground. And I wasn't sure what had happened the first year. And the second year, it started to come up again. I moved it across the garden to another garden, and it started to grow. And I thought, gee, it's happy here. And then it disappeared. So here we had a disappearing act again until we finally fenced it. And Bill has a fence around it. He moved it, and it is very much alive, and we're looking forward to the scent and the beauty of that quince. Next, and the same friend gave me this Arabian night dahlia, very dark red. It blooms in July and August. It was my husband's favorite. Next, and it is no longer. I don't know what happened to it.
Oh,
This is my favorite. This is a tulip that is from Amsterdam, from my son, Jeff, when he went to visit a friend from high school. And again, I cherish what my children bring me. And in the next slide, you will see, which is not in focus at all, but I think I was holding the long lens, and this was 2011. I was holding the long lens I opened it up. I tried to see the inside. I always love to see the inside. I sometimes wonder about forensic pathology. I think just, anyway, getting back to the next slide is a picture after a heavy rain. And the reason I want to show you this photograph is the gas plant in the back by the potting shed. It's the pink flower, and that gas plant, we had a board meeting here at the house, and Bonnie came, and she had asked me prior if I would be willing to donate that to the post office. So that is at the Lexington post office, hopefully still there today. And I did buy pansies to put on the table, I guess because I was having a meeting. Anyway, she came and dug it out while we were having the meeting. Next is the upper garden, and I wanted to show you the Kenilworth ivy coming through the stone wall. That lion is quite thick and heavy and solid cement, and Bruce had to go to New England Nurseries to pick that up for me. I found it in the fall, and in the spring I decided I wanted it embedded in the wall. So he did that for us, and he did a fantastic job. But I could not lift that. And under the Sea Wiggles hosta is the Kenilworth ivy, and you can see it growing through the stone wall. Next is an Asiatic lily, and that was something we gave to my mother-in-law for her birthdays and whatever occasion, and she would save the bulbs for us. Next, this is fascinating. This is Lenten rose, or Christmas rose. I call it Lenten rose, but this is very unusual because I used to take pictures when I would come home from work at night. Wow. I would feed the frogs and I would feed the fish slugs that I would take off of the hostas, and I would take photographs. These things I would do at night, 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock at night. And this had to be, and I'm not a meteorologist, but this had to be a very, very mild winter, because you see the green shiny leaves on this hellebore, and the leaves are green shiny and they are beautiful. But the winter is very harsh to the leaf. So in the spring, you need to cut off the leaves and the flowers will definitely come out. They're out now. And I do have one plant that's in a bit of shade, and I did have to cut. And in where the red leaf maple was, all the hellebores look pretty sad, and I have cut off all the leaves. So there are no leaves left at all, but they will come back. And next picture, again, a mild winter. We don't have those anymore. The next, you will see them in transition. They do go from white to a mauve pink. Next. And from that, we have a close-up of the actual flower going to seed, and you can see the green starting. And next is they're going to seed, and the color changed to green, except for one that popped up white. And I thought that was quite fascinating, so I did take that photograph. Next is a photograph looking outside, looking at the outside from inside looking out, whatever. To the left, you see a bay tree. To the middle, you see the papyrus, and that was brought in. The boys were home. They must have been having a lunch. They have the heavy table down there. They must have been having a lunch with friends. They brought in the palm tree to the right. The Seiko palm is in a pot in the big pot, and there's an orchid. And my Rose Marina prostrata has the blue bulb in it over to the left underneath the bay tree. And I kept rosemaries, I think 5 years. I bring them in for the winter, and I believe one of the rosemaries is at the senior center. Next, and the next one is a double primrose, yellow, I think very rare. And I believe this originates with the Monroe Tavern Gardens. And when I worked there, Chris was just, the colonial flowers, they are all just beautiful. And it was wonderful working with her and with the girls that would come every Tuesday. And this primrose, you can divide very easily, and it propagates and propagating it, dividing it and propagating it, I was able to give it back to the plant sale, and also to friends. I would give it to friends. It's very rare. It's unusual to see the double yellow flower. I don't think I had ever seen that before, but they're throughout the garden. They were throughout the garden. Next is called Bellflower, Campanula glomurata. This is a beautiful purple flower. This propagates by cutting the root system and spreading it. Next, and I know we're running short on time. Next we have Sea Wiggles hosta, and it's the close-up. And this is the upper pond, the upper water garden pond. And Sea Wiggles hosta is wiggly toward the tips. And I'm not sure if this originated with Leo Blanchette, where a good portion of my hostas came from at the very beginning. So they're quite old. Actually, that picture was taken in 2009. Next is a Hosta Francais, and Hosta Francais is puckered a bit with white trim on the green leaves next to lace cap, as you can see. And across from it, by the other post of the grape arbor, is a Hosta Plantagenea. Ashley, I think we talked about fragrant flowers. And this one is a fragrant white trumpet shaped flower that blooms in the fall.
Right.
Very heavily fragrant and beautiful. It's a yellowish green leaf, nothing spectacular, but the flower and the fact that it blooms in the fall is very special. And also Blanchette, who specialized in hostas. I had Tokudama, Francie, Sea Wiggles, Alan McDonald, which I think is the one, Alan P. McDonald, I think is the little one in the window box right near that. Many hostas came from him at the beginning, but then a lot of them separated. And you could see European ginger underneath the lace cap hydrangea. Next, we have a red and white dahlia that grew in the side garden. And next, you will see a garden that has been neglected. And it's 2013, and we were spending a lot of time traveling. And the bee balm is red, and the geranium is tall in purple and white. But there wasn't much time spent in the garden that year, for sure. And next we have, and if someone in the audience would do a Q&A on this one, I'm not sure if this is a chive flower that I tried to open. I try to open everything out there, or if it's Trillium. So if you know, let me know. I do have chives all the time in my garden as I use them, but Trillium I did have in my garden at one time. I'm not sure what this is exactly. Next is Kenilworth ivy, another neglect in the garden. We let it go. I usually keep that area clean, clear actually, but the Kenilworth ivy, I think we let that go for a couple of years, and it is growing through the rock wall in the back garden. But here it is hugging the rock. You can actually see it hugging that rock. And I think it's absolutely beautiful. Next, and we're just about finished. This next one is, again, with the long lens in my book. And this is a dahlia, a beautiful dinner plate, yellow dahlia. They were gorgeous. And that was 2011. So that goes way back. And the last photograph was taken in late summer. And I think it was in late August. And Bill and I had been working out in the garden at the time. And I came in to prepare dinner, and I happened to look out the kitchen window and I saw the sky. And this is unedited. And I walked outside with the camera. And that's one thing about Apple. Apple tells you the dates, the times, the camera. This one has no camera, probably because it came from the book. This is the last page of my big book. So this was the beginning of August, and this is the end of the presentation. So if there is time for questions.
Yeah, I have a few, but I must say, Janet, Not only are they beautiful flowers, but the stories that go with them. It's a lovely family tale you're telling of the garden and how gardens grow. Frank and Beverly Colby, oh, I should start my video, I will. Want to know, is the fungus that killed Big Red something that is around everywhere, or was it rare?
No, not rare at all. As a matter of fact, it attacked many red maples in the area. And as we drove around, we could see the red maple trees defoliating. And if you read about, I can't pronounce the name of the fungus, but it was definitely, there was no treatment for it. And it did attack the red leaf maple trees.
Yeah.
A lot of trees actually, but the red leaf maple was one. It took one in the back property as well as ours.
Jackie wants to know in the name of the beautiful hosta that you don't divide. I think that was on in the beginning.
Oh, that's Frances Williams. I can divide her, but I won't. She is so special and she's so happy where she is. Frances Williams was very popular back in the early days of gardening for me, and everybody wanted Frances Williams. And I'm not sure, the grape arbor has always been there since we bought the house. So Frances Williams is one to have, and it's named after Frances Williams. That is her name. She named that hosta. There's also a hosta Janet that a friend gave to me that is in one of the back gardens. I didn't have a photograph of that on this show.
Yeah. And your last question is, Grandma, when will you bring us a peony?
Oh my goodness.
I guess we have people
I
in
thought
California.
we were playing soccer. We're supposed to be playing soccer. I'll bring you a peony as soon as we're able to travel. We did this presentation during a pandemic so that we could inspire and motivate people to get out and garden and enjoy the fresh air and the sunshine and the beautiful flowers and shrubs. So James and Annalise, we will bring you peonies. I will make it a point to do that. We are downsizing our garden. We're doing that before we're downsizing our home. We're finding it as we're aging that it's a bit much to take care of everything at the same time.
Somebody has asked for your address, and we don't give out the addresses.
Oh.
Join the garden club. You can find her there.
Lexington Field and Garden Club.
But this YouTube will be on Google, so anybody can get hold of that, the information that way. So you do want to preserve our participants' privacy a bit. So we thank you, Janet. And on Tuesday, April 27th, we're going to go from flowers to vegetables, starting your vegetable garden from seed. And do you struggle to raise those seeds successfully? Mary Rose Scozafava, who is a veteran home gardener and a board member of Lexington Community Farm, will share tips on how to start your vegetable garden from seed and how to avoid the common mistakes when doing that. You sign up through the Cary Library calendar, and you need to sign up 24 hours in advance. Now, I just want to be sure, somebody loved the peony picture. Susan Wilson says, thanks, Janet. It was great to hear all about your garden and see your smiling face. And Joy Metna says, thanks, Janet. So I think you made people very happy, and now we're getting rain for our gardens, and hopefully everything will be growing again.
Well, thank you again for this opportunity, Ashley. I really appreciate it. I feel honored to have been part of your programs. Is there another question there? Oh, it's thanking. Oh, I see. Okay.
Okay.
All right. So
Okay.
It's been a pleasure, and I hope everyone's motivated.
I hope they are too. Meanwhile, see you all at Patriots Day.
And thank you again, Matt.
Thank you, Janet,
night.
and thank you, Ashley.
You did a great job.
Yes,
Thank
you
you
did.
everyone for coming as well.
You were pretty good with those necks.